The shocking truth has now been revealed. It was a shocking fact, but Guy wasn't particularly surprised. I had a feeling that it might be the case. Although there were no signs of recovery, I had a premonition. When did that guy come back to life? Maybe, a long, long time ago. Velzard spoke with a deep thought, to which Guy replied casually, I see. Hearing this reply, Velzard became enraged once again. Even if you go against my brother, there's no way you can win. If you're going to be killed by my brother anyway, I'd rather make it easy for you myself. Even Velzard knew that it was impossible, but she couldn't resist. I would never forgive someone for killing Guy. If it was Veldanava, there was no guarantee that he would be able to be revived. If that was going to happen, I would have rather killed him with my own hands. That way, at the very least, Guy will be able to revive. However, Guy didn't care about Velzard's feelings. This is why Velzard thought that it was typical of Guy. It was a long time ago that I lost to Veldanava, you know. I'll win next time. You called me an idiot, but you're much more foolish. There's no way you could win. Velzard clung to Guy's chest and looked up at him. I might not be able to do it alone, so please cooperate with me. You will fight alongside me, right, Velzard? Velzard was speechless. Guy's arrogance was so extreme. And then, those words sounded so typical of Guy. So Velzard confronted Guy with her true feelings. I hate you. I really, 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 really hate you. I hate you, hate you, hate you. Hate you. I hate you so much that I can't help it, and yet I love you. Velzard confessed with all her heart. Guy's response to that was simple. Yeah, I knew that. That was just a simple statement, as if to say it was nothing. Velzard could only be stunned by this. How arrogant, to the point of being annoying. Right, that's proof that I am me. If this is the case, I'll just have to worry about it alone, and it'll make me look stupid. Beautiful droplets of water flowed down Velzard's pale cheeks. It was as if her frozen heart was beginning to thaw. Yeah, I think so too. You should deny it and comfort me, right? Why, it's just too much hassle. Anyway, Velzard, quickly regain control of your body and return to your senses. Even now, Velzard is still raging in the material world. Rimuru will probably do something about it, but this is no time for long conversations. As always, you're not being nice to me. Really, you're my partner after all. I don't have to worry about you, you're like family, right? Partner, family, family. Velzard's face, which was buried in Guy's chest, turned bright red in an instant. Velzard hastily jumped away from Guy. It doesn't mean what I had hoped it would mean. I thought it was different, because Guy is kind. Guy was just trying to convince himself. Guy remained calm, without noticing Velzard's agitation. Isn't that wrong? We've been together forever. In human terms, we're what you'd call a husband and wife. Couple. Guy's hatefully arrogant voice resonated in Velzard's mind. Even though he had never even confessed his love to her, Guy had skipped all the steps and decided to become husband and wife, leaving Velzard at a loss for words. But I don't feel bad about it. Guy and his wife. Just by savoring those words, Velzard's heart felt warm. It seems like it would be difficult to cool down flushed cheeks, even with a cold air that freezes everything. Hey, don't just stand there like an idiot and come back quickly. Guy said this without any consideration for Velzard's feelings. Urged again, Velzard could only give a wry smile. Although he was a little disappointed with Guy's attitude, he was relieved that he was acting as usual. It's just business as usual now. Yeah, that's true. I really am such an idiot. Really? But you know I don't dislike that about you. Velzard laughed softly at Guy's words. There was no longer a young Velzard there. She had returned to her original self. A beautiful and graceful woman, with a smile that seemed to clear her worries. This was proof that all doubt had vanished from Velzard's mind. A strong light of reason had returned to his eyes. With a shy smile that everyone could admire, Velzard quietly muttered, "I'm home." To Guy. Velzard, now a beautiful woman, turned to Guy and asked him with a serious face, "Are you sure? Are you really going to go against your brother?" "It's too late now. The Veldanava I knew wasn't the type to sneak around in the shadows. If he was serious, he could destroy this world all by himself." That was Guy's true feelings. That's why he was able to cut off his feelings for Veldanava without any hesitation. Veldanava was destroyed. "You really are strong, Guy. You see, I was scared of my brother after he was resurrected. He slept in the Heaven Star Palace to recover his strength. He stayed in the innermost chamber, which only Feldway and I could enter all the time. Ahem. And I woke up just recently. Was it Veldanava's will that we not stop that bastard Feldway?" "Yes, that's right. My brother wanted the world to be destroyed. That's why I tried to save him by freezing you." That was the truth for Velzard. He couldn't defy Veldanava. That's why he thought he should take advantage of the plan and keep Guy, and as many others as possible alive, so that they can live again in a new world. Now that that option is gone, it's all or nothing. Either defeat Veldanava, or be completely destroyed and reborn from scratch. "Talk to me." "Fufu, is that what you said?" "Well, yeah." Has complicated feelings towards Veldanava. Although they hadn't seen each other for thousands of years, the fond memories had not faded. No, that's why. He couldn't forgive Veldanava for what Velzard was saying. He wouldn't do something so sneaky as this. That was the conclusion Guy had reached. It was at this exact moment that Guy recognized Veldanava as an enemy. Velzard also changed her focus. "I understand. I have made up my mind. However, my brother will soon find out about my betrayal. Since he possessed the authority given to him by Veldanava, Velzard's movements were completely transparent. Even before that, it was impossible for him to even enter the arena with the power he borrowed from his enemy." Guy also noticed this and pondered. Unlike my prideful king Lucifer, Velzard's patience King Gabriel is a pure authority created by Veldanava. Leaving it as it is would be bad considering the future. Since we are going against Veldanava, we must win. To do this, we must take all possible measures and eliminate any elements that could become weaknesses as much as possible. At the very least, we must take this opportunity to settle any powers we have borrowed from those we perceive, act, or become our enemies. Your authority isn't just King of Patience, Gabriel, is it? Yes, that's right. I'm sure you can see through this, but thanks to the fact that I had acquired the ultimate ability, ultimate skill, Leviathan Envious King, I was able to escape Michael's ultimate dominion, Archangel's rule. Velzard explained her authority to Guy. By utilizing two opposing ultimate abilities, ultimate skills, he had deceived Feldway and the others. So, does that bastard Feldway not even notice Veldanava's resurrection? That's right. For some reason, my brother hid the fact that he had been resurrected. I thought he intended to keep quiet until he regained his powers, but it seems he had another motive. I don't know what that is, though, Velzard replied. Feldway is a pathetic bastard. I wonder. It's so different from before, maybe we'd be happier if we never met. Is it really that bad? Yes, dragons are immortal, but their egos change when they are reborn. Their memories have been inherited, but he is not the brother you know. Velzard declared. I see, Guy nodded. If that's the case, I'll beat you up without any hesitation. What exactly do you plan to do? I'll think about that later, but first I need to do something about your authority. As usual, Guy was acting on impulse. Because she is the strongest in a bad way, there is no need to think about things too hard. Despite this bad habit, Velzard has a track record of being able to do anything up until now, so she can't complain. That's why I get pushed around so much. I'm not entirely dissatisfied with this, but it's also a happy thing, so it's a bit of a problem. What do you plan to do with my authority? Well, I can suppress Patience King Gabriel with Envious King Leviathan, so there shouldn't be any problems as long as you don't rely on my authority. Guy was not convinced by Velzard's assertion that he could fight without relying on authority. That shady Rimuru said that authorities can evolve. Your Envious King Leviathan was probably born in the same way, but I'm sure you can aim for even greater heights. Is that true? Yeah, it seems Rimuru did something about Velgrind as well. I see. There was no hesitation in Guy's words, and he was confident that Rimuru could do it. Velzard was almost jealous of the slime's trust, but her heart remained calm. However, when she was told to entrust herself to a slime she didn't understand, she couldn't just nod. Velzard, for her part, did not dislike Rimuru, and in a sense, she trusted him. While there are certainly some shady aspects to him, Rimuru has a track record of correcting Veldora. Just seeing how he was able to discipline that unruly boy is enough to acknowledge his incredible abilities. I'll leave this to him, Velzard decided. You say that so casually. That's fine. I'll try to trust Rimuru in order to meet your expectations. I thought you would say that. Well then, I will go back and tell Rimuru, so you prepare yourself and wait patiently. With those words, Guy's astral body left Velzard's heart. In an instant, Guy's consciousness returned to his own body. Emma. Guy, now in a female form, lost consciousness and was embraced in Diablo's arms. The black and red look really suits the beautiful man and woman. Guy was probably currently in contact with Velzard's heart through his astral body, in order to speak directly to her. Just like when I touched Chloe's heart to save Hinata, she should be in a defenseless state. I thought he was being reckless, but he probably decided that he wouldn't be able to save Velzard if he didn't. I think there is a relationship of trust between the two that no one else can access. I really hope that they will be successful in persuading him, and I decided to pray for his success. And then a few minutes passed. To be honest, I had nothing to do and was bored. Since time flows differently in the spiritual world, it wouldn't be surprising if Guy or Velzard woke up at any time. That's why I had to be on my guard, but the cold air and magical waves that Velzard was releasing were wrapped up in void collapse, so they didn't affect the outside world. In other words, nothing happens. Just watching her would be boring, so I decided to observe Velzard. Velzard, enveloped in my void collapse, was in a beautiful dragon form. Dragon mode. The amount of magic essence and energy was immense, exceeding Eve Velgrind's after evolution. Even compared to Veldora, it was so incredible that it was almost on par with him. I was able to easily hold back Velzard. I was surprised myself, but it seemed like my amount of magic essence and energy had become quite large. It seems that such a bold move was possible, thanks to the acquisition of God of the Void, Azathoth. The more I hear about it, the more I think it is an incredible power. Feldway's time-space leap shockwave chronozaltation sent them to the farthest world, but it ended up giving Seal time to do research. I was also given a lot of explanations, but needless to say, I couldn't understand most of it. He prided himself on being reasonably intelligent, but even when he was told about concepts like the speed of light is not constant, or time is not constant, and that's just your opinion, right? He couldn't even understand how they related to his abilities. There is a saying in the world that giving up is the key. In my own way, like a small-minded person, I decided to remember only the practical parts. What that means is that, to put it in extreme terms, the ultimate ability, ultimate skill, void god Azathoth, is an overwhelming mass of energy. The void collapse I'm using now is actually the absolute collapse factor. Negative energy that was accumulated in the end world. Even Seal-san had trouble using it, but after endless hours of research, it is now easy to use. Yeah, that's amazing. When I asked him if it felt like a change from a nuclear reactor to a nuclear fusion reactor, he replied with a straight face, "No, it's not. It seems she wanted me to praise her more, but I think it's wrong to expect me to be so attentive." Well, anyway, it seems that experimenting with this energy was dangerous even inside the labyrinth. It seems that this was not something that could be handled with ease, and the end world was the perfect place for the experiment. What good is it to benefit the enemy? I felt sorry for Feldway. Incidentally, when I tried using it to cast a spell, a huge explosion occurred. It was the most basic elemental magic, fireball, but it suddenly burst into flames. It had become an extreme magic that could burn a wide area. Comparable to or even surpassing the nuclear strike magic, flames of ruin, nuclear flame. With my skill level, controlling this was out of the question. I quickly controlled it with God of the Void, Azathoth, and was able to use it to a reasonable degree. Because it was a far-flung world, no catastrophe occurred, but such a dangerous experiment could not be carried out in the base world. From now on, we would have to rely on God of the Void, Azathoth, but I didn't think that would be a problem. Compared to that, Diablo is amazing. In fact, it's mind-blowing. To think that he could control this evil, void collapse energy, and use it to strengthen his own physical abilities. Simply hitting the enemy with it, as a means of attack, will work against most opponents. It may even be possible to destroy them without allowing any resistance. However, of course, the price is high. It also consumes a large amount of your own magical essence and energy, making it difficult to continue fighting. That's why I think it's best to use it as a last resort in crucial situations. But, surprisingly, my way of thinking may be in the minority. Even Karara had unleashed her trump card, God Annihilation Bullet, Judgment, as her first move, and Testarossa had also made generous use of Void Collapse. I don't think it's a technique that can be used casually, but perhaps it's different for skilled combatants. And then there's Diablo. Using Void Collapse to strengthen oneself may seem sound at first glance, but it was an extremely dangerous method. Seal had also come up with a similar method of use. It is a method of circulating energy in a closed world, and is called the secret method of the cycle. I tried to put it in a cool way, but it basically means recycling energy. By using space control abilities, I created a state that prevented the energy from dispersing and prevented the circulated energy from being wasted. Well, it's difficult to understand, so it should be fine if you just think that something strange happened at the time. This was possible because my slime cells possessed a property called infinite regeneration, because they could regenerate faster than the rate of decay. Caused by the extremely evil void, I was able to utilize negative energy. However, Diablo had used the power of the tempting world to deceive his own body and create a phenomenon similar to the secret technique of the cycle. Normally, this would be considered suicide, so I was amazed that he was unharmed. If I had returned a little later, Diablo's body would have turned to dust and disappeared. No, I'm sure Seal-san was waiting for the right timing to prevent that from happening. Diablo is currently being taught the secret technique of the circle by Seal. Explaining it to him in my own words, but no matter how you look at it, it's a bit of a stretch. I'm not as smart as Seal, so even Diablo must feel a bit uneasy. Anyway, unlike me, Diablo seems to understand Seal's explanation, as expected. The conversation was going on with such joy that I felt extremely left out. I'm jealous that you can hold a conversation with Seal. It's probably impossible for Benimaru as well. Other possible options are probably Tensura or Ultima. Karara is more of an instinct and intuition person than logic or theory, so she probably doesn't like logical conversations. Time passes peacefully. It's not good to think about such things on the battlefield, but the current situation is so stable that it's inevitable that he'll have free time. I wish they'd make the conversation interesting so that I could join in just. As I was letting my guard down, Guy suddenly woke up and sat up. Well, I'm not slacking off though. I was startled and couldn't help but make an excuse. Guy glared at me. You were slacking off, weren't you? No, not at all. As a man, he was intimidating, but when a beautiful woman glared at him, he was terrifying in a different way. I was reminded once again that I am really weak when it comes to beautiful women. So, you understand the situation. But I haven't. That. Enough with the excuses, just get started. So what? Don't be ridiculous, please explain first. Without thinking, I replied with a perfectly reasonable opinion. Is it my fault? He clicked his tongue, though. I was about to think about the injustice of this world, but at that moment Guy explained it to me. With my thoughts accelerated to the maximum, the main stream of information was hammered into my head. I was in a lot of pain because I had a hangover after swallowing Dragon Star, Explosive Flame, and Drago Nova. It was harassment, but I was able to understand the situation, so I'll let it slide. In other words, since Veldanava has been revived, we should do something. About Velzard-san, Patience King Gabriel. No. That's information that would require a meeting for about 3 days. Right. Or rather, I wish you'd stop putting your mysterious trust in me. During the previous Walpurgis banquet, I was sure that I was being suspected. As expected, it seemed impossible to deceive Guy. This is a good opportunity. Let's take this opportunity to thoroughly. That's true. If Seal is motivated, there's no reason for me to stop her. It would be rude to ask what exactly he was planning to do, so I thought it would be best to leave this up to Seal. So I accepted Guy's offer. The first thing Seal did was to understand Velzard's condition. The information is listed in my brain extremely smoothly. According to Guy's explanation, Velzard was currently perfectly prepared to accept them. It's okay for me, Seal, to do whatever I want with him. Well then, Seal-san. Leave it to us. Seal looks happy. And the next moment, Velzard disappeared. You, Rimuru, what did you just do? What did you do, Seal-sensei? Please rest assured that it has been consumed. I will finish the analysis. Appraisal in an instant, and move on to work. Yes, that's what it is. I realized that I had no choice but to leave it to him. It's okay, trust me, I said firmly. But Guy had a suspicious look on his face. Diablo then approached Guy with an unpleasant look on his face. That is disrespectful to Rimuru-sama. Shut up, unlike you, I'm not that devoted to him. How deplorable. This is why there is no hope for the ignorant and unenlightened. Shut up. That's right, Diablo. Stop saying unnecessary things. I'm happy that he's backing me up, but in Diablo's case, it's going too far. I quickly intervened, not wanting to upset Guy any further. To put Guy at ease, I decided to have him visualize the work situation. Following my command, Seal-san made a large water droplet appear in midair. It was a thin membrane made from my slime cells, and inside it was Velzard curled up in the fetal position. La. Wonderful. Guy and Diablo stopped arguing and were captivated by the sight. It was good that they had calmed down, but I wondered why I had to intervene. While all this was going on, the ability modification alteration has been successfully completed. Ultimate ability, ultimate skill, King of Patience Gabriel, and King of Jealousy Leviathan have been combined, evolving into ultimate ability. Ultimate skill, King of the Ice God Cthulhu. This was the report that Sealsan had sent me. Already, I thought, but then Seal happily added another piece of information. Of course, all the information has been collected. I guess so, I nodded, my eyes fixed on the distance. Emma. Velzer was shocked. The feeling of being gently embraced gave me a sense of relief for the first time in my life. Velzard was aware that this was the effect of being devoured by Rimuru. But there is no need to worry. Velzard calmed her mind and faced her inner self. He interacts with the ultimate ability, ultimate skill, Gabriel, King of Patience, bestowed upon him by his brother, and the authority that embodies his own. Desire, ultimate ability, ultimate skill, Leviathan, King of Jealousy. In this way, it was easy to seek out a synergistic effect from the powers, or, conversely, to cancel out their influence on oneself. However, no matter how you look at it, the evolution of authority that Guy desires is impossible to achieve. In the first place, messing with the authority that my brother created to derive the perfect law is an idea that could shake the very foundations of this world. I don't think it will succeed. That was Velzard's true feelings. Still, wanting to meet Guy's expectations, Velzard decided to try her best. Following Velzard's change in consciousness, the ultimate abilities, ultimate skills engraved in her soul, began to fight with each other, trying to gain control over each other. As Velzard commanded, ultimate ability, ultimate skill, envious king. Leviathan, bidden to Patience King Gabriel, however, Patience King Gabriel was as sturdy as expected and stubbornly showed no sign of changing. As I thought, it's impossible. The battle in Velzard's spiritual world was at a stalemate. It looked like it would fall into a stalemate, but it is a wise decision to entrust everything to me. I will now begin interfering with your authority. Is that okay? A mysterious voice echoed in Velzard's heart. I instinctively tried to react, but no sound came out. It was so unrealistic that we were too late in grasping the situation. Is this the help from Rimuru that Guy was talking about? It seems a bit different too. What I imagined. It was very similar to the language of the world, established by Veldanava. However, I instinctively realized that they were completely different things. After calming down and thinking about it, Velzard guessed the true identity of the voice. She realized that it was probably Amana's, just like Twilight, who had been parasitizing Velzard. However, it is difficult to say for sure whether it is Rimuru or not. After all, even Guy had a hard time speaking to Velzard directly. The only being who could do that without difficulty was an information life form, digital nature. Like Twilight. Does this mean that Rimuru has turned into a wisdom core Manas? There's something strange about that. If Guy's words were to be believed, Rimuru should have agreed to cooperate. That's why it was hard to imagine anyone other than Rimuru contacting him at this time. Although Rimuru is a suspicious slime, he should not be a wisdom core, or Manas, or perhaps he has reached a similar level of existence. Velzard couldn't make a judgment. That's why I asked the question. Are you Rimuru? HMPH, I'll leave that to your imagination. But more importantly, I demand an immediate response. This person was very arrogant and didn't seem to have any intention of answering Velzard's questions. If it had been a hostile presence, she would have responded, but it seemed like it was an ally. For some reason, it made her feel calm, so Velzard decided to trust the owner of that voice. Okay, I'll leave it to you. Will that decision turn out to be good or bad? The results were immediately clear. Confirming target's consentability alteration will now be executed. A joyful voice resounded, and immediately afterwards a dramatic change occurred in Velzard. Ultimate ability, ultimate skill, integrating King of Patience Gabriel and King of Envy Leviathan to create a new authority. Huh, I didn't have time to ask back. An incomprehensible phenomenon interfered with Velzard's soul and began to tamper with the authority that was certainly there. The speed was so fast that it was impossible to comprehend, let alone recognize. And the list of information that flowed by at lightning speed was comparable to astronomical figures. Velzard was stunned. While I was wondering what on earth was going on, the work was completed. The ability modification alteration has been successfully completed. Ultimate ability, ultimate skill, King of Patience Gabriel and King of Jealousy Leviathan have been combined, evolving into ultimate ability. Ultimate skill, King of the Ice God Cthulhu. Hearing this, Velzard turned her attention to her own authority. It was something completely different. There is no sense of discomfort or resistance, and not even a moment's delay. He can grasp all powers perfectly at will. Ultimate ability, ultimate skill. King of the Ice God Cthulhu, it was exactly. The compatibility between Velzard's unique ability and authority, optimized to an unprecedented level and naturally adapted, resulting in a performance that was super enhanced to an extent that was incomparable to anything that had come before. If I had this power, I might have been able to defeat Guy. Velzard couldn't help but mutter this. Well, that would have been impossible. Although he quickly changed his mind, the performance of ultimate ability, ultimate skill, King of the Ice God Cthulhu, was enough to make him think so. These opposing powers coexist effortlessly. There was no longer any waste in energy efficiency, and Velzard's already enormous amount of magic essence and energy was now able to manipulate events with almost no consumption. It was a magnificent and beautiful union of Velzard and her authority. So Velgrain-chan has also reached this state, and that too by the hands of Demon Lord Rimuru. That's nonsense, Velzard thought. In reality, even his older brother, Veldanava, could pull off something like this. Who exactly is Demon Lord Rimuru? Even Velzard, who was shut away inside her own heart, was aware of the situation in the outside world. Because of this, it was clear that even she, the strongest true dragon, would be no match for Rimuru. What existed was an overwhelming disparity that could not be quantified. His body was compatible with the dragon factors and was now on par with a dragon kind. On the contrary, his overwhelming amount of magic essence, energy, easily surpassed even Velzard's. One who swallows everything and stands there calmly. That's the kind of person Rimuru was. Apparently, not only Veldora, but also Velgrind was saved by Rimuru's hand. Is it possible for such a person to exist? No, it's possible. As long as it exists in reality, there's no doubt about it. But however, no matter how you look at it, it's impossible to say that it was just a unique monster that was born, by chance, from the pool of magical energy leaking out of Veldora. Velzard's thoughts returned to her original question. Who exactly is Rimuru? Velzard felt as if she was being reborn. The efficiency has visibly improved, and it feels like the absolute amount of magic essence, energy has increased. He's in top form, even though he just had a big fight with Guy. All of these were changes brought about by Rimuru. I can't believe it. There's no way anyone could do something like this, no, even my brother. She was still bound by the curse of her brother, Veldanava. Veldanava had regained his strength. And they are plotting something, and the world is heading towards destruction. Velzard had no way or means to resist. But that was just a while ago. Right now, her mind was caught in a whirlpool of deep thoughts. Maybe. Yes, maybe. A light of hope lit up in Velzard's heart.